Hello, world. I'm Hunter, and this is my co hosts, Cadence and Yoshi, and this is Inconsequential Questions. Now, the question that I have for you guys today, everybody loves the seasons: winter, fall, spring, summer. They're all good in their own ways. Everybody loves going skiing in the winter and going out and playing in the water in the summer. But let me ask you this: what if the four seasons lasted 100 years each?
Well, your entire lifetime would be one season.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you might be in an ice age from the time you're born until you die.
You could either be very lucky or very unlucky.
Well, I mean, you could also live in two different seasons.
Yeah, you could be in a crossover, but I feel like with any season, if it's sustained for that long, there's going to be a lot of problems,
Yeah.
particularly the extremes.
Something that I didn't talk about uh, is that like the equator in the real world, the equator, the temperatures work. The closer you get to the equator, the warmer things are generally, and the closer you get to the poles, the colder things are generally. This would work the same way. It would just be like winter as it is in the equator for 100 years, and the equator doesn't really get winter.
Oh, so people would like migrate.
Not everyone would.
Oh, true, but I mean, like during the winter, like the whole Earth, a lot of the Earth at least, yeah, becomes an ice age thing.
Well, no, because in places like Australia, their seasons are flipped. They would have summer when we have winter. So would it still be the
Oh,
same winter for them, or would
Yeah,
they have their summer?
it would be. I think it would have to be global. So like winter in Australia and winter in North America. It is 100 years of winter for the world,
Huh.
and so this wouldn't be like a thing starting now, right? Like last time. This is something that has existed, let's say, since the dawn of humanity.
so we're just like used to it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you would be used to whatever season you were born into, I guess.
I mean, like, so if it started now, we'd be like, why is there a drought going on for all these years? And
Yeah.
yeah, um, we wouldn't understand it. But if it's happened throughout all of time, then people are like, well, in uh, however many years, it's gonna change. Like people know.
I just like the idea that there would be people born in like winter and people born in summer. And to those two people, like the world is a different place. Like like everything that you know about the world is different depending on what season you were born into.
So, what about like rain? Because I mean, normally like you have the rainy season, right? Like spring is super rainy, and
Yeah.
fall there's not much rain. So, does that mean during the spring 100 years it's gonna be rainy all the time?
Super rainy and super like bountiful. So constant harvest.
But, hmm. But well, okay. So take so for a lot of crops, like yeah, that's when they like start growing and grow good, but then they need the summer to like kind of
Like fully bloom or whatever.
yeah, mature.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, spring is like the time they germinate.
Also, how do we even, well, I was gonna say, how do we keep track of years now?
Same way we do now.
But
We don't use the seasons to keep track of years, Yoshi. We use the Earth's rotation around the sun, which would be unaffected by them.
right. No, yeah, that was another question. Are there still like minor seasons?
I would say there's fluctuations within a season. So, like, winter is
Okay.
not necessarily completely dead cold winter all the time, because winter normally isn't completely dead cold winter all the time, right?
Yeah. Well, my guess or my question was like because, you know, the all the planetary movement doesn't change, we still would get the sun shining more on one side of the earth at one time of the year and less at another time of the year. desecrating seasons. So do we still have that, or is it just we kind of ignore that?
For the sake of the hypothetical, we're going to assume that the sun's rotation and the sun's tilt have absolutely no effect on the seasons themselves in this universe.
Okay.
It's some unknown cause causing these things to happen.
Hmm.
I want to get into biology really quick because there's a lot of things that are in biology that are dependent on seasons. So spring is usually mating season, and spring and summer, and so that would have to change. Is my point. Bears also hibernate during the winter. Actually, lots of animals hibernate during the winter, and my thinking is that they would still have to hibernate, I guess, because the concept is still the same, but they obviously can't hibernate for 100 years, right?
I
Says
mean,
who?
some can.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
There's
I guess some. Smaller animals could probably hibernate for 100 years.
yeah, there's like some that just kind of freeze their bodies and don't really do anything.
Well, that works because they're small and they can have their entire circulatory system frozen at the same time. So when warmed up, they can
Yeah,
unfreeze all at the same time and it doesn't damage anything. But you get like a bear and freeze it like that, something is going to be damaged and then they die.
yeah.
You can't flash freeze a bear, unfortunately. Well, I think a lot of things would either have to adapt very quickly to this change or die off as a species.
Yeah. Well,
I
if
don't.
this has happened since like the dawn of time, then like things should have adapted, right?
I think we're. Well, so what I was thinking is that the dawn of civilization. So I guess we could say like the Ice Age was the first 100-year winter,
Oh, okay.
and then after that it was 100 years of spring or whatever.
Yeah, but even still, I feel like they should have adapted by now.
So best estimate is around 200,000 years of humanity so far.
Yeah, we're in the 21st century, so 21 different seasons. Well, not 21 different, but you know what I mean, like of cycles.
Yeah. Well, I mean, animals don't adapt that quickly. We would definitely. I mean, they would definitely select for changes, but they wouldn't be completely adapted to it. Also, the thing is that it is such a radical shift, and I assume it would happen fairly quickly, that it would be kind of hard to adapt because for 100 years you're living a lifestyle of winter, and then suddenly, in a short amount of time, you change to a lifestyle of summer for 100 years, and for 100 years your species has not lived like that.
Yeah. I think only like species that are able to adapt pretty easily would be able to survive.
Like birds,
Yeah, birds would probably do
except
fine.
penguins.
Rodents would probably do fine.
Penguins? I feel
Penguins
like
would go
penguins.
extinct.
Penguins.
Why? What?
Well,
Why?
it depends.
Why do you think?
It depends on how far it like reaches in the summer. If it melts the caps, then yeah, probably.
No, I'm thinking the winter because it would be 100 years of Arctic winter, which is like really bad.
Wait, why?
Not everywhere has an Arctic winter. Penguins don't only live in Antarctica. You know that, right?
I'm aware.
Wait, why would that kill the penguins? They're made for that.
Yeah, they're not made for constant, continued, sustained, really, really, really cold temperatures. They have a summer there.
But isn't there summer even like still in snow and ice?
Yeah, but
I don't
there's
think penguins would be the thing we need to worry about going extinct.
humans probably would also be in danger.
Yeah, I
I
was gonna
It
say.
depends
If
on when
anything,
this happened, I would want to say.
okay. So something I want to clarify. So the shift when this occurs, like going into winter from, let's say, fall, like how quickly is the shift happening? Because I'm thinking like a matter of a couple of years. This is slowly creeping in, and then it just stays that way.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, I don't think humans. I mean, it survived the ice age somehow.
Sure.
So
With fire,
yeah,
we made fire, Yoshi.
yeah. I feel like we would find a way to survive, unless like summer makes the whole Earth a desert. Then well, nothing hardly is going to survive. But
It still rains in the summer, Yoshi.
yeah, I'm just trying to think like, okay, I guess not everywhere, but in yeah, I guess you'd just have to go further north to get away from
Yeah.
it. But like, there's a lot of places where the summers are like something like 100 degrees a lot of times, and if you had that for 100 years, a lot of stuff is gonna die.
I think on a socio-cultural level, humanity, the way that we function would be very different because we would definitely have to migrate, right?
Yeah,
Uh, and we'd have to migrate as a group, kind of,
I mean,
which would.
if if we had modern technology, we wouldn't necessarily have to.
That's
But
true. We're talking about beginning of history, though.
yeah, that's only
Well, yeah.
like 20th century, or I guess 21st century. You'd really be able to survive pretty much anywhere.
I don't think we would even be able to get to that point if we were
Yeah,
living
probably
in such
not. Well,
hostile lifestyle.
I don't know about that because when there's a need for something, there's more focus on it, and thus it gets done faster, I
Think
guess.
we would get there quicker?
Yeah, perhaps because I mean, so there's the need to survive in the hostile environment, and so we would try and develop things to be able to do that.
Hmm. Uh,
I
but
mean,
as I was
how
saying,
hard is it? You just at the equator, you build houses, and you still have the oceans, so just gotta have something to get fresh water from the ocean.
Okay, Joshi, you go
you're
do
gonna build
that.
summer
You go do
homes.
that.
I mean, like I said, it kind of depends on how sustained hot it gets. And I don't know that you should stay like at the equator. You probably should stay pretty far north still, but
Yeah, I
I
think
think with
Mexico's
modern
probably all right.
technology, we would definitely be able to, though.
Yeah, but we're not talking. Well, I mean, I guess it will continue to modern age, but right now, think about like beginning of civilization, humanity. They would definitely have to be not nomadic because they could stay wherever once they get to someplace cold enough or warm enough. But when the shift happens, they would definitely have to move about, and I think that would cause lots of war and just chaos in general.
Yeah, and that's why I say they would create the technology quicker because say we have a northern and a southern kingdom and it's shifting to winter. Now the northern kingdom either has to fight or figure out a way to stay. And so they're probably going to try to figure out a way to stay. And, if it doesn't work, then they fight or they get eliminated. Uh, and so, I mean, yeah, they'll figure out a way quicker.
I want to say wipe each other out first.
Maybe. I
Uh,
don't want to. I don't want to say that people would just go to fighting so quickly, though.
Yeah, I don't think there would be so many like fights and stuff over this, but I mean there would be some, but
People coming in as refugees by the hundreds of thousands and trying to live where you live. You don't think that would cause some war and conflict?
Well, yeah.
well, I feel like there wouldn't be well there really okay, so is is it like so you know how sorry, I keep saying so, but like so so here in Arizona it's like 100 degrees and it's only spring, but in like Oklahoma it's not that hot. Is it the same everywhere or is it like different locations have different temperatures?
Yeah, the different location. So like, it would be summer as it is in Arizona, and summer as it is in Florida, and summer as it is in wherever.
Okay. So I feel like there wouldn't be that much migration other than just a few places.
Well, the
Well, it
problem
it does
arises when it.
it the reason is because it's 100 years. So some
Yeah,
are just right now for one season, it's fine. Things can weather through that. But if you have that just as a constant for 100 years, then a lot of the vegetation is going to die, and that's what helps keep things not as hot. Uh, and after that dies, then it all kind of turns to just after everything dries out, it all kind of turns almost desert-like, and then things only get hotter.
Here's my counter argument to that. It is always as hot as it is in the summer here in the equator, and there are massive biodiverse rainforests in the equator right now, full of foliage. And it's always like that. Not just for 100 years, for 1,000 years. Islands in the equator are like that. So not necessarily, Yoshi.
Yeah, I mean that's because they have, you know, a lot of rain.
Yeah,
So it does
and
depend. That is
constant heat
like
causes constant rain. Coastal places would be fine. Would actually
right,
be more biodiverse,
possibly.
is my point.
Um, but say like Arizona, definitely just a desert. I mean, it kind of
Yeah.
already is.
Arizona's already a
It's
desert.
already.
Yeah.
It's already.
Oklahoma, probably the same.
Oh no, Arizona's a desert. What are we ever
Oh
going to do?
no. Same with things like New Mexico and Nevada. Already deserts. They're just gonna be even more deserted.
Oh my god, Nevada's gonna have to start importing water?
All the places where it kind of relies on the rainy season to actually uh, get things to
Function.
grow, then they'll kind of just everything will die.
I'm sure all 10 of the people who currently live in Las Vegas are going to be very upset about that as they die.
You realize Las Vegas is more than just 10 people. There's a lot of people in Vegas.
Yeah, but most of them are there for the casino and then they kill themselves and move on.
I'm
In
not
that
sure
order.
that's exactly what happens.
In
But
that order. They kill
they
themselves and
kill
then
themselves.
leave.
Yeah.
That's the only way out of Las Vegas, actually.
It's really not. I was born there. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's just on a delay.
It's just on a delay.
Yeah.
A 17-year delay. Well, it better hurry up.
Yeah. But
Anyways.
back to biology. So, migratory patterns, would they stay the same?
Or are you talking about animals now?
Yes.
Obviously not. I mean, not unless there's like mini seasons.
Birds go from like everywhere to the south during the winter because, it gets cold and they can't nest and then they die. So, well, some birds, a lot of birds don't. But anyway, would there just be a ton of birds in the south for 100 years and then all of a sudden they would just all come back at once in the summer?
I mean,
Yeah.
I would assume so.
Yeah.
Because there's
I mean,
nothing
I
else they
don't
could
know.
do.
Yeah.
I just think that would be interesting to see like the sky go completely black with birds as they disperse.
It would be a sight, for sure.
They so I think the one thing that'll happen is that there will be like cultural significance about what season a generation was born into.
Yeah,
So like
definitely.
people born into the summer season probably not going to be as hardy or uh you know just savage as people born in the winter season.
Uh,
But
I would say
you're
the
just
other
saying
way
that because you were
around,
born
but
in winter, first of all.
um, I mean,
I'm
in
sensing some
different
bias.
ways. In different ways. People who are born in winter, though, or people who right now, people who live in very Arctic weather, I mean, they kind of isolate because
Yeah.
it's all cold. You can't really go anywhere. Got to just build your shelter and hunker down. In the
Yeah. So
summer,
you think
got to go get your stuff or
out
something.
and about. So do you think there would be like an entire generation of isolationists and summer born people would be very social out and about? I think there would be like
I
100
don't know
years of
about that, but
celebration. How would
What?
holidays be
I think it
affected?
would. I think it would be quite a shock for someone who. Well, I guess it's 100 years. I was gonna say if someone went from summer to winter, but no, there's 100 years in between there.
I mean, if you're born at the edge of winter, or at the edge of summer, and 20 years later, now it's winter for 100 years, you would get to experience both.
But it wouldn't go from summer
Winter
to
doesn't come
winter.
right after summer.
Yeah.
Oh,
It would go to
sorry. Never
fall.
mind. It's very late.
Still, winter might be quite a surprise from fall.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well,
Or I guess
imagine
fall to summer.
you live in nice, cool fall with really pretty trees for 100 years, and then
I
all
love
of a sudden,
fall.
it's winter and cold and awful all the time.
Wait,
I think
how would the trees be pretty for 100 years? They gotta grow and die. And I mean, in
they
real
just
life, they're
would,
only like
okay?
that for like a few weeks or a month or so.
True.
That's not important. They just are pretty forever,
They
okay?
just are pretty. Trees
They
are
just are
always
Well,
pretty.
pretty, Yoshi.
well,
They
if
just
that's
they're
if
just
that's how
pretty.
it is, then trees have now a cycle of 400 years instead of 1 year.
Trees are really old, Yoshi.
Yeah.
Well, you're right. They can't do that because we have to assume. Well, actually, I think most tree populations would just get wiped out by this
Yeah, I was gonna say,
if
where
it
would the
started.
trees live?
Because,
Especially in the winter.
first of all, grass grows
Everything would
anywhere.
die.
Doesn't matter how cold or hot it is.
Grass can
Oh, yeah.
migrate, kind
It
of.
is true.
What?
But
What?
Well,
trees,
an
in
individual
temperate.
grass does not migrate, but it can. Their seeds can spread to take them wherever they need to go.
So trees, as a species, I guess, are designed in temperate places. Are designed for cyclical lifespan when it comes to seasons. So like in the fall, they lose all their leaves and they go into a little like pseudo hibernation in winter, and they grow all their leaves back. And the energy they store up, they use the grow the green chlorophyll, and they get the energy. And in summer, it's fine, and then they do it all over again. Non-temperate trees would probably not be nearly as affected, but I think probably any temperate tree would be just wiped out by this because they can't
Yeah,
do that life cycle. They would
yeah.
attempt
Assuming
to,
they're the
die.
same as like right now, I mean, I feel like there would be a like safe zone in between, like just flaming desert and ice cold ice age. So
Yeah.
honestly, I don't even
Wow.
know that like any tree. I don't think even evergreens would be able to handle that very good. Okay, maybe the tropics would be okay because rain and not as cold.
Yeah. Anywhere near the coast would be screwed for the last like 50 years of this.
So I think what we're hearing is like go to the tropics.
Maybe. So I think sea levels would also screw you even in the tropics because in the winter the sea levels would start slowly falling, and then in the summer they would rise very quickly.
Yeah, and things like
Well, I think spring they
hurricane
would rise
season.
quick.
Yeah, in spring.
So
And
Oh,
things like
spring.
hurricane season and typhoon season,
Oh
things
yeah,
like that.
wait,
a
yeah,
hundred
spring
years of
all of a sudden
hurricanes.
spring becomes very dangerous actually now that we think about this. Because
Way
because
more
we're coming off an
storms
ice
and stuff.
age. All the ice is gonna
Oh,
melt. The waters are gonna
a hundred
swell. There's gonna be
hundred
hurricanes
years of
like crazy.
hurricanes. I love that.
No, that's awful.
Well, it
Hunter,
would
have
only
you ever
affect.
been in a hurricane?
No, I haven't. I've only ever lived in a landlocked state.
Hurricanes are not very fun. I once saw it split a tree in half with
Where
lightning.
were you? Oh, Japan?
Japan.
Yeah, that makes sense. Hmm. I've always wanted to see a hurricane.
I mean, it's not that interesting. It's just a lot of rain mostly, and then a lot of storm.
Horizontal rain.
Yeah,
Horizontal
horizontal.
rain.
It really is.
That's horrifying.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, so imagine that, but for 100 years. Like your entire life, if
would
you're
hate
born at
that.
the beginning of spring, is just that nonstop.
Well, that's
Well,
if
I
you
don't
live
think you
in
could live
tropical
there.
areas.
Yeah, you would have to move inward to a near a landlocked place.
Well, now the
Or
trees are even more screwed.
Yeah,
I think the trees are just
so
dead.
No more oxygen. We're all dying. We just all
Most
die.
oxygen comes from deep ocean algae, actually. So we would
I
still
don't
be fine for the most part.
I don't think the oxygen is what we need to worry about. If all the trees are gone, then there's a lot of animals who can't get food.
That's true.
And if all the
It's true.
animals die, then we don't have food. I think everything just dies if we do this.
I think we would find a way to survive. It would just really suck.
I don't think we would. I think eventually we'd just all die.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
No, I don't. Maybe maybe there would probably be mass extinction. You're right, but I don't think like total extinction could occur because I think there would be tons of species that would be almost completely unaffected by this. Like ants.
Like what?
Ants are fine.
Yep. But
Um,
they would die immediately in the hurricanes. So 100 years of hurricanes, all
no,
I,
I
just
I
get
hate
mean,
to.
flooded and
fire
drown.
ants would be just fine. Yeah,
Fire ants maybe, but
There are ants everywhere
and
on Earth by the trillions.
yeah,
well,
there's,
yeah, because
yeah,
they're
he's right.
underground.
There's plenty of ants that would do fine. There's probably quite a few insect species that would be all right.
Mice and
No,
rats would be fine.
Said at the beginning, like I think the only things that will survive are things that can adapt easily.
Yeah,
And trees, they can't adapt. It's pretty
but
much that simple.
they
They are
can adapt.
rooted. They are stuck where they are and
they
cannot
Anything
cannot
move.
can
move.
adapt.
Insects
So,
can, and especially if the transition is a few years, then like yeah, they're golden.
are they?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that individual ant colonies would migrate hundreds of miles, but
There
uh,
would be ants somewhere. Don't worry. There's going to be an ant somewhere.
right, they would still they're gonna spread to where they can, and then maybe some will die off, but others will have made it to the safe space. So
So, what will definitely die off? I'm not. I don't think anything else really. Specialist species like butterflies and bees are what would die off completely because they rely on a very, very specific niche within their environment, and almost all of them are determined by the seasons and reliant on them, which would just completely go away. But generalist species like humans and dogs and insects and whatever, probably going to be fine. I mean,
and
it would suck.
scavengers will do fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't worry, there will still be crows. Somewhere there will be a crow watching you.
Yeah, I think a lot
Vultures.
of birds will be all right.
I mean, they
I
can
think birds
fly,
will outlive humans, to be honest.
Yeah. Uh,
probably. That's just real life, though.
Well, yeah.
I don't know. If trees go away, birds have a lot more problems,
I mean,
particularly
yeah.
birds that eat like seeds and whatnot.
That's true. Well, seeds would still exist.
Carnivorous birds will be okay. Well, no, seeds wouldn't really exist if there's tree seeds, I guess. Grass seeds there would, but
Tree seeds survive winters all the time. Maybe not sustained 100-year
they're not
winters.
gonna. Yeah, they're not gonna survive 100 years, and not
Well,
not enough
tundra,
to not enough to sustain a bird population.
I don't know this for sure, but I'm pretty sure they've found viable tree seeds in the like frozen soil of tundra biomes.
Yeah, fair
So it's
enough.
possible
I guess
that,
winter they probably would.
yeah,
Summer, I
you
doubt.
would. I don't know. I don't think trees would be as screwed as you think.
Yeah, I don't know. There might be
I think what's
some that like, quickly growing species. If their seeds, I mean, spring will spread things everywhere because hurricanes and whatnot and flooding. Um, so that could help. So I guess if their seeds get to the right area, then yeah, they might be all right.
I think what's more likely to happen than anything is that a specific species of tree will start doing better than all the others and will quickly take over wherever
Kind
and
of, yeah.
spread like wildfire. Yeah,
So there's like redwoods, they're screwed because they take forever to grow. But I think uh species that take, there's some that okay, I think any that their uh growth from seed to maturity is less than the transition time, I think we'll do okay.
hmm.
As long as
And
they have a good way to disperse their seeds to somewhere where they can survive.
that's true. Fall would be interesting. I don't know how fall would work
I
because
think
it just
fall
kind of
would be
gets
the
cooler.
safest.
Think?
Fall would
I
be
think so.
very different than what we know as
Yeah,
fall.
Well,
it would
yeah.
Because
have to
right
be.
now, fall is defined by, the trees, they're all like leaves all change color and fall off the trees. Um, but in this case, that doesn't really happen.
It was also defined by all the plants germinating at the same time,
Yeah, yeah, and that
which
doesn't really happen.
I mean, I guess that could still happen. Those things are all in preparation for winter, though. So is this a season of 100 years of everything prepping for winter?
I mean, prepping for 100 years of winter. Yeah,
I don't, but
that
they
is.
can't.
Yeah, you can't really do that.
That's true. I don't know.
It's like taking a drink of water before a race, but you can't store 500 gallons of water in you.
I can.
That's true. No, you can't.
You don't know that.
I'm fairly certain I
think
do.
I do.
So what if everything was like adjusted for this? Like everything but humans, wildlife and tree life somehow are adjusted for 100 years of whatever, and they just exhibit their normal behavior for 100 years. So like trees are going to be fall colors for 100 years of fall, and it just doesn't affect. It somehow does not affect their biology.
But well, now this is back to what I said before, where a tree grows the same amount in 400 years as it would in 1 year, right?
What?
Because
I don't know.
if it's doing the same
Oh yeah,
things as it would during these seasons, then it takes 400 years for a tree to grow, what, 1 year in our time.
yeah. I know what you mean now. Okay, so yeah, you're right. We're adjusting 400 years worth of life cycle into uh, a normal tree that usually does the same thing in 1 year.
Right.
Or a bear. Well, I guess it would have to be a species of bear. So we're saying that bears would spend 100 as a species 100 years of fall preparing for winter. Just don't think about it. Just don't think
The
about
bear
how that
just
changes everything.
the bear just fills an entire cave with food.
Well, its family fills 100 years worth of food in their cave. Pollen is in the air for 100 years. Pumpkins are
Oh,
growing for 100 years.
I don't mind the pumpkin part. I like pumpkin flavored stuff.
In spring, it's gonna be flowers for 100 years.
I don't mind
Nothing
that. I
is
don't have terrible allergies,
like
but
everything is slowed down by 400%,
Except humans
except humans.
and animals, sort of. The only thing that's like slowed down is that
Right.
I don't know. They would have to still be breeding at normal rates, but we're just gonna assume that they breed a lot more during the spring and summer.
All, only bears are slowed down.
Well, no, they're still living and dying. They're just spending 100 years worth of hibernation in a cave.
Uh,
There would be bears that live their entire life in a cave in hibernation.
it's kind of sad.
sad. It's really sad.
Of course, I guess humans would kind of be like that too. But there'd be people who live 100 years just hiding in a snow shelter.
You think we would
Totally.
move like? You think we would move it underground during winter as a people?
I mean, I don't know that in general. I mean, let's think about people who live in I don't know, Arctic conditions. They make they make structures, igloos,
Clues.
cabins, whatever. You can make it underground if you want to, I guess, but you don't have to. We have a thing called fire.
Yeah, it's true. I don't think fire saves you for.
Although, if the trees took 400 years to grow in 1 year, wood would run out.
There's still there's still trees growing and being born.
Wait, maybe they're uh they grow at like 400 times the rate. So, like right now, the tree rings, right? Those would be like
Yeah.
400 times bigger.
Oh man. So there would just be really big trees everywhere.
No, 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 no. Because the rings would be bigger, but Okay, one tree right now that has 400 rings would only have one ring.
That's true. Yeah,
So the
you're
tree's the
right.
same size, they just have less rings.
Well, I mean, they are growing at an accelerated rate. So big trees would, in fact, go from a sapling to a huge tree in like a fraction of the time.
No, no. Because, well, no, I don't think you're quite understanding what I'm saying.
You're saying that they're growing faster. They're
No,
not
they're not
growing.
growing
They're not,
faster. Their cycle is longer,
okay.
and
Okay.
thus, so, I mean, right now we have a springtime that's 3 months. And so they take in all those nutrients and that's when they expand the most, right? Um,
Yeah.
that's
Okay,
kind
I
of
see
the
what you're
white
saying now.
portion of a ring. On that, it's 100 years. So the white portion would be like the, you know, the most expansion. It would be 400 times more than it is right now.
So what you're saying is they wouldn't be growing like any during the winter and in the spring,
No,
or
not
that
really.
they would be growing barely any in the winter, and then in the spring they're like shooting up like bamboo.
Yeah, basically. They'd grow at the same rate
Okay.
as they do right now, actually. It's just at different times.
Okay, I see
Right
what
now,
you're saying.
right now it's more constant.
Yeah, well, our seasons aren't 100 years.
Right. Thankfully. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think this would affect like celebration because I think the entire 100 years of summer would be a time of celebration for people and like festivals.
It would be too hot to do
Hmm.
anything in some
That's
Yeah,
seasons.
I don't know about that. I feel like fall would be the time. Well, I don't
You
Fall,
why
think?
would
yeah.
I don't think any time would be. I think it'd just be because people
Okay,
live.
I think fall would be the safest, though.
Yeah, I
Spring,
think
You
you've
think?
got
fall is the most
hurricanes and
moderate.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Summer's fire.
Summer's
Winter
fire.
is
Winter's
freezing
just
cold
frozen everything.
temperatures,
Yeah.
and spring is hurricanes.
Hurricanes and
Fall,
tsunamis.
Hur-
what happens
Hurricanes
during the
only for
fall?
coastal people.
Well,
Well, yeah, but that's
kind of,
still a
but if
lot of
it's 100
people.
years, you're gonna get some pretty insane hurricanes.
Yeah.
They'll probably
True.
spread a little more.
Especially if it's right after winter when all the ice melts.
Oh yeah, that's a good point too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say those first like probably 10 years or something
10
is
years, yeah.
probably gonna
That
be
first brutal.
really, really bad.
Well, the coast would just start rising.
Yeah, it'd
Yeah.
rise pretty
And that's what
fast.
causes tsunamis,
I don't know about
which
quite
are
that
even
fast,
worse.
but yeah,
Well, but
I mean,
in some
tsunamis are
there's
like
cases.
tsunamis in
from
places.
volcanic eruptions
Earthquakes.
and whatnot, right? And earthquakes,
Well,
yeah.
yeah.
They're from oceanic earthquakes.
Oh, that's good. That's a point too. What about like tectonics? Would this affect that? Probably.
Tectonics affected
What
by the
affects?
seasons.
Specifically with like the ice
I I think maybe it's a
and the melting
possibility.
of the ice.
I don't know. I don't know what affects those things. I haven't talked about that stuff since like 8th grade math. What? No, not math.
Wow.
Math?
Yeah.
Geography. Not
Maybe
math.
try
You said
geography?
Geography. Oh my god.
Mixing up your geography and your geometry.
what? Okay, children. If a equals bx squared, then how many earthquakes is Japan going to get this year?
A million.
Million.
A million earthquakes.
My God, there will be no one left in Japan.
Earthquakes
Japan
were pretty common.
actually probably, yeah, there'd probably be no one left.
Yeah. Everybody would
I don't know
die.
how are the seasons in Japan? I've never been. Cadence, you're the expert
Um,
here.
Spring is really pretty at first because of all the cherry blossoms, but then it gets into dangerous hurricane season. So it's like sweet and sour.
Mm.
Okay.
And then summer, it's really humid, and then it's pretty hot. So I don't know. I feel like summer there would kind of suck for 100 years. Winter's not bad at all. Um, I mean, it gets cold and it snows every now and then, but it wouldn't be terrible. And then fall is pretty normal. I don't know.
So I think winter, you kind of said like places go on how they are right now, like the seasons. But if you sustain winter for 100 years, even in like Oklahoma, where it snows sometimes, but then it just kind of melts. Like if it's sustained for that long, and you get a snow every, I don't know, month or something, even then there's nothing to melt it off because it's not going to get warm. So I think snow and whatnot, maybe not Oklahoma, but like places a little further north where usually it snows and then when spring's coming around, it all melts off, then it won't melt off and it'll just kind of keep building snow.
New York would be screwed.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Not only are they near the coast, but also they get really bad snow in the winter.
Yeah. Yeah, that's way
So
too
right
far
next
north.
to Canada.
When well, no
Canada is
one's going
just
to be
an
living in.
iceberg.
Canada doesn't exist anymore. Like
Yeah, it's just an iceberg
It,
now.
it exists. There's just not people there.
Yeah.
there's frozen people there.
Oh,
Dead
that's
frozen.
that's an interesting thought because like no one lives in Antarctica. It's not claimed by any country supposedly because it's just like there's no way for a habitable situation or civilization to exist there, and that would be like way more of the North in this universe.
Yeah.
Like you're right, Canada and Russia would be well. I guess Russia already is uninhabitable. But
Anywhere that relies on the spring coming around to melt off the snow, it's screwed. Like it's just gonna keep snowing more and becoming ice, and yeah, it's just never gonna melt.
I mean, until 100 years of summer, and then
Obviously,
parts of it.
I
Summer
mean,
The
doesn't
more
come immediately after.
that's true. Even then
spring.
the southernmost parts of those places would feel it. But even then, like
Not
Antarctica
really.
still wouldn't feel it.
Like here in Arizona, we don't get snow like at all. We would not feel it at all.
Yeah.
Like it would be
Well,
It
chilly.
would
you don't.
But
Well,
it would
100
eventually
years
get
of
colder
cold though. Yeah.
I don't know.
because
You have to understand that it's only initially like it is right now with the seasons. After
oh, okay.
50 years of the world getting colder and colder and colder, you would eventually start feeling it in Arizona. It might not snow, but it will get colder.
That's true.
And it does actually snow sometimes in Arizona. Just
Well, yeah, every now and then. Well, yeah, I know. And like,
okay.
well, it depends on the place. Like down in Flagstaff, yeah, they get snow all the time, but because they're in the mountains.
Yeah. Mountains probably would snow regardless.
Well, yeah, it does anyways.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, no, I mean I think after a while most of the world would be affected by this. The equator would probably be
Definitely.
the only safe place from the winter.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, go down to Cuba. But then, you have spring immediately after, and then rising sea levels and hurricanes. And you're not safe in Cuba anymore.
I know.
Yeah.
It's unless you were pretty much born in the beginning of the season, you're not really safe.
Well, what would happen is people would start keeping way stricter track of how many years have passed. And then when they think spring is about to come, they're moving out of Cuba in mass.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I'd say it's safer to live in the islands during, but then
Well, I don't
leave as
think
soon
islands
as
are a very good idea.
well, because they're warmer.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
Equatorial
during
islands.
fall and winter.
yeah, kind of.
Greenland is still not safe.
What? Of course,
Yeah.
Greenland's not safe.
I mean, it's already an iceberg. It's gonna be
Yeah,
more of an iceberg now.
So what I'm saying is it's technically an island. Equatorial islands would be safer. Just islands in general does not necessarily mean
okay.
safe.
Well, you know what? You know what I mean. Shut up, Hunter.
I know what you meant.
So
Don't be
then
mean to
shut up.
me.
All right. I think we have hashed this over pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it time for the outro?
Yep, go ahead.
Yes.
Next time on Inconsequential Questions.
Okay. Subscribe and follow.
Yeah. Follow our TikTok and a Twitter. Go follow those too.